Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com Deep Dive presented by EnTrust IT Solutions. Yes, my voice is still shaky, but we'll try and make do. On today's show, we have entertaining crew chief Cody Jacobs from Big Game Motorsports. Before we get to Cody, don't forget to check out EnTrust IT Solutions. EnTrust is a full-service technology company serving small and mid-sized businesses in New York, Pennsylvania, and surrounding areas. The staff at EnTrust takes a personalized approach to technology. See why customers are choosing EnTrust as their technology partners by scheduling a free consultation at www.entrust-msp.com or calling 717-292-8868. Cody, how you doing? Thank you for doing the deep dive.
Hey, Jeremy, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Excuse my voice. It sounds, I don't know what happened. I wasn't like this at Volusia when I talked to you, but all hell broke loose after that.
Yeah, it's easy. It's a long 4 days and a little climate shock, maybe. I think we all come down with maybe a little bit of a cough or sneeze after that week.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's great to have you on. And I got a lot of questions for you. And the first one, you're at Jacobs. What's it like? You have Kendra, you have Lee, you have Trey. Trey's interesting, by the way. And then, of course, I remember watching Dean and Kenny, who just shows you how old I am. What's it like being in this family business and the family dynamic of racing?
I don't know. I guess I really don't think of it as anything, abnormal or different or anything. It's just kind of what we do, or what we've done, I guess. Dad and Kenny race for a living. We're fortunate to have a pretty good living doing it, and I think you just kind of, I guess, follow in the footsteps. Maybe, I don't know. It's racing is just one of them deals. I mean, it's once you get rolling in it, it's kind of hard to get away from it.
Now, you guys are on all different aspects. The drivers, you're a crew chief. She's kind of done different things. What's family dinners like, or what family get-togethers like, with all you guys kind of in different directions?
Well, yeah, I mean, we probably don't get together enough, as we should, but I mean, obviously, racing's usually the hot topic. I mean, anytime you get all of us around, and it's interesting to hear it from, I guess, a little bit of everybody's perspective, really. I mean, you got, Dad and Kenny that raced, so you hear a little bit from the driver. You got, my side of it from, I tried driving a little bit and knew that wasn't going to work out, and I've always liked working on them. So, I mean, you get to hear it from a mechanics aspect, and then, now that Dad, he owns a race car now and races a little bit with my brother. So you get a little bit of a car owner's perspective from him, in a very, a local form. So yeah, it's interesting. Racing's definitely the hot topic.
Well, then you got Kendra's with High Limit now, and you and I will talk about High Limit then at some point. I know that's a favorite of yours, and you're with the Outlaws. I'm sure that goes back and forth.
Yeah. Kendra does a good job at what she does. I mean, she's been involved in motorsports, for a long time, and even when she was down working with the pavement guys and stuff, and what she did for Knoxville was great, and she does a good job. So yeah, it's an interesting time for sprint car racing. I think it's everybody's got a lot of questions and are eager to get answered, but time will tell.
So you growing up, which I got to say, your dad, Dean, the Frigidaire car was awesome. It was an awesome car. I miss that car, actually. How did you kind of take this ride? You said you drove a little bit. I did not know that. When did you kind of dabble in driving? Did you go to the track with your dad, and that's kind of how you got hooked? How did this all kind of morph in your younger years?
Yeah, so I did try and race a little bit. I guess I tried racing, Oh, it would have been probably like right around my senior year of high school, and shortly after high school, kind of bouncing around. I know I was mowing grass for a guy and worked in the oil field a little bit, and then was kind of jumping around, piddling with the race cars. And it just, we didn't have enough money to really do it, but to take it back, I mean, I guess originally, yeah, I mean, when I was, far younger than that, I would probably say about when I was, 13, 14 years old, I started getting that want to go into pits, and I wanted to be involved. And I always remember being little and hearing my dad, on the ride home, I'd be sitting in the back, and he'd be talking about different shit that they'd done, bars and, turn, weight and engines, and just kind of how their night went. And I guess I absorbed a lot of that, when I think back on it, when I was little, riding in the back seat and just listening to him go through some of the things that he went through as a driver. And yeah, I just it started going into pits. I mean, they give me little jobs. It was, setting bleeders. I know it was like my first, cool responsibility, I guess. That I felt like, I was worth something. Like they trusted me to do something. And then it just one thing led after the other. And I just was fortunate to be around a lot of good people, a lot of good drivers, a lot of good people, and I just if you I guess when you're young and you like something, you pay a little closer attention to it maybe. And I think that's kind of helped, lead me on this path to working on them, and being involved that way.
So as a driver, was it that you didn't have enough kind of money to do it? Were you not good at it? What, or a little bit of both? And then how did you
Yeah.
kind of go to crew chiefing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was always intrigued and involved with wanting to know how to make them go fast, how to make them handle, how to build a nice race car. And I got an opportunity. My dad, I guess it had to be like 06-ish, maybe 07-ish, 05, somewhere in there. My dad was racing, was going to do the outlaw deal for, I believe it was Larry Woodward.
Oh,
And it was the Volcano Joe's 2 car, and he got let go of that ride really early on in the season. I think we got replaced by Joey Saldana. And I guess long story short, he at that time he was doing it for a living, so it was really a a cut to him. When you're doing it for a living, how do I pay bills now? I don't have a fucking ride. It's like, what do you do next? And so, he came home, and, he's friends with a lot of good people that he raced for, locally, and they threw together, a car. And Brian Ellenberger actually let my dad use the engine. It was, I believe, a Donut engine that Ellenberger had. And dad went and ran, peeled off, and did some all-star races, and actually won a couple races in it. He won. I know. Remember one. It was at West Virginia Motor Speedway, the
yeah.
big fast track. And I remember that because we got done at like 4 a.m. We had rain delay. We had a fog delay. It was like one of those chaotic nights, and the track was haul ass fast, and he ended up winning the race. But yeah, so he ended up finding a ride then later on in the year, and all that stuff he had gotten accrued was just kind of sitting there, and at that point he was like, hey man, if you want to try and do this, right here's your opportunity. So I basically had a car and some stuff. He had a lot of tools from the Frigidaire days when he had his own
Yep.
team. So I just dove into it, man, and it was like me and a buddy would go racing. Guy Webb at the time, to fast forward, he ended up lending us an engine, to basically get me started. And I would go to Tri-City on Sundays. I remember over in Franklin, Pennsylvania was a track that I would go to on Sundays. But shit, I didn't have no money. I was, like I said, at that, fast forward again, I guess, I was cutting grass and just doing little odd jobs, and dad was still trying to find rides and race these things to provide a living for our family. And it just ultimately, I mean, I don't think, I mean, maybe with a little bit more money and a little more time, I probably could have found my balls a little bit and maybe ran her a little harder and done some things that you need to do to be fast in these cars. But I know every night, it was always in the back of my mind, like, hey man, do not crash this fucking thing or you're sitting for a while, or, so I just, I don't know. I just, the stars didn't align to be the driver. And honestly, I like working on them more. I feel like I'm a far better mechanic than I would have been a driver. So, here we are, I guess.
So, what was your first job outside of anything with your dad with a team, and what was it?
Yeah, I remember I wanted to go on the road, and this was I assume like shortly after, like 18, like somewhere in between those years, of trying to race and do that. But I got a hold of Brian Paulus, and he was
Oh,
actually I guess my first job out there, and I think it was, I want to say the split, maybe like when they had the NST Outlaw deal, and I think we did the NST. I mean, it's such a blur, like anymore, some of this shit for me, but yeah, that would be my first job, and got to be on the road, live out of a suitcase, live out of a hotel, take in the sights and sounds of everything being on the road. And there's a lot that goes into it. I guess that was the first, real on the road type of job.
did that? Were you sold at that point? Were you hooked that, hey, this is what I want to do? I want to be a crew chief for a living,
Yeah.
or did that come later?
Um, I don't know. Like, I never, like, to get to where I'm at now. Like, I never really thought of like, this is what I was gonna, this is what I was gonna end up doing. I just kind of, I guess, been flying by the seat of my pants, for a long time, it seems like now. But yeah, I don't know. I always got just a lot of gratification of helping somebody try and figure these cars out and get them comfortable. There's been a lot of self gratification, I guess, in that. Where it's, just I like figuring these things out. I like, trying to make them, make them good and build nice cars, and that was just always a good feeling for me.
So, when do you become a crew chief for the first time? And who are some of the guys you worked with before Tim Schaeffer?
Oh shit, man. I mean, like, I guess that label, the crew chief title or whatever,
Yep.
I guess caught attention, with Schaefer. But I guess there in 2014 and 15, I helped my cousin Lee.
Mm-hmm.
He got with John Lewis, and they got a couple really nice cars, used cars off of Jimmy Carr when Jimmy was working there at TSR. And we had some pretty nice runs with him. We made the Knoxville Nationals, I believe, in 14. Won a couple all-star races with him. Danny Holtgraver, I guess, and right there before I got with Schaefer, that would have been, I guess, in 2016 or 17. I got with Danny, and we ran Pete Grove's car, won a couple all-star races, chased the all-stars around. Just kind of beat up the all-star deal, and the local Ohio stuff. I mean, shit, there was nights. One of my favorite stories, I came off the road. I was working on the 6 car with Barry Jackson and Danny Lasowski, and ended up quitting that deal. And I don't even remember exactly what year that was, but all the stuff that I was racing was kind of sitting there, and I had an engine, and my buddy Danny Moomaw, he's a
Yep.
local guy at home here. He runs Wayne County and stuff. Grew up running around with him, and he needed an engine. He had a car and everything, needed an engine. I said, well, fuck it, we'll put my engine in your car, and we'll just go run Wayne County a couple weekends. There was a race coming up in Conneaut, Ohio, at Raceway 7 in a few weeks. I said, if everything goes good, we can go run that race. And So we end up putting my motor in his car, and we won right out of the gate, won Wayne County. And then the second weekend we go back, and he's smoking them in a feature, and they had a late restart, and I'll never forget it because I ripped his ass. But he got beat on the white flag lap by Todd Kane. Todd Kane passed him on the bottom on the white flag lap, and I was fucking pissed. I'm like, what the hell? We're splitting the money.
Oh,
All $1,500 or whatever we were getting. And then that Raceway 7 race came around the third week in a row, and I said, well, let's load her up and go. And we went there, and it was an open tire rule, and there was that was a 3,000 or 4,000 to win race, and there were some good cars there. I remember George and Dale were there racing, and Bob Felmley and Jack Sodeman, and some of them Western Pennsylvania guys that got some laps. And we went there, and I don't know, man, the stars aligned, but we started like 7th or something, and he drove that son of a bitch right up there and won the race. And past Dale, past those guys, and won the race. And I'm like, holy shit, one of the coolest times in the world. But yeah, just helping local guys around home, I was kind of just skipping around, and just I don't know, I felt like I had a little know-how and jumped around a little bit. And then man, after that year with Holtgraver, and I got with Schaefer, it was like, I don't know, we both had a lot of confidence back then, and it seems like that's when, I guess that's when I finally realized, like, I might be able to, keep rolling at this and be able to, at least make an okay living at it.
yeah. That's when I kind of got tuned into who you were when you were with Schaefer. Guys won some big races. You came into Pennsylvania and won. You won that Sprint Car World Championship out of Mansfield. Uh, what was it about that combination and being with Tim Schaeffer that seemed to work?
Well, I guess, when I think about it, I came home, I don't know, again, I don't know years very well. It had to be 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. I actually, whatever the last year he was in the 83 car, I helped him that year. So that kind of started the relationship. And then when we got together in 2017, I think it was just like, I had, like I said, I had a lot of confidence. The way that we both kind of saw things on how we wanted to race, whether it was schedule wise or car setup wise, we just had kind of the same vision a little bit there. And yeah, we just got together, got along good, had fun together. And man, I kind of like the way we raced then. We kind of had that, I feel like we kind of started that open schedule type of deal, and
Yeah.
and showed some guys that, hey, if you can have a nice little program, you can win, you can win some, you might have to give up some perks, but you can win some money. And yeah, we just we clicked, and was fortunate enough to win some really nice races.
Well, now you're a Big Game, and now it's a whole different level. It's World of Outlaws. David Gravel's your driver. When I saw David Gravel run in that 89 car, I thought he was going to be good. It was one of the ones where you could see early. I missed on a few, but I didn't miss on that one. But when you get that job, is it a different feeling? Because you're jumping from, you can do what you want. You can pick and choose. If you guys aren't fresh, you don't have to race. Is it a little more anxiety or nerve wracking being a World of Outlaw crew chief for Big Game Motorsports, Todd Query, all the resources, as opposed to what you've done in the past?
Yeah, there's a little more pressure, but I can't believe it's been 5 years already, like, since I got that. The end of 2019 is when I got the phone call from Todd, and it's like, feels like it's just flown by. But yeah, to do the outlaw deal, there again, like, that's something I never thought I'd be sitting here having this conversation with. Like, I never really, these kids, instead of this shit, they say, oh, I've dreamed of doing this shit. I didn't really dream of doing none of this shit. This is how it fucking ended up, you know what I mean? Like, so Yeah, I mean, the pressure deal, I mean, obviously it's there a little bit. You want to perform. I feel like we have performed, and I mean, this is our 4th year together now, and we've ran second in the championship, and just learned a lot, man. Like it's a whole different level of racing when you're just racing, and then racing the outlaw deal. Anybody can say whatever the hell they want, but when you put World of Outlaw championship in front of anything, I mean, that's what it's all about. You that gives you a little extra pressure just saying World of Outlaw history. I mean, they can say, history don't matter, this and that. Well, they're lying through their teeth, because just that alone right there adds a little bit of pressure. So, I mean, we want to get that championship. I mean, there's still some big races that we both want to get. The Big Game wants to get. I know Todd Quiring wants a Knoxville National.
Oh yeah.
Probably more than he wants a championship.
Yep.
And I feel the same way. Like I said, I mean, yeah, the championship's great, but a nationals, a Royal, a National Open, so those 3 races in themselves right there, are some pressure, you want to get. And yeah, I mean, it's just you just got to kind of take it and roll with it, though, and have short-term memory. I'm learning how to do that. Like, you gotta take, you can celebrate the good times, but I mean, you don't dwell on them. And it's kind of the same thing with the bad nights, is just short-term memory. Just put the trailer door up and try and focus on how you can get better the next night. So the outlaw deal, from just racing and running around racing, and then you chase the outlaw schedule and the outlaw tour down for a goal to win a championship. That's a whole different mindset and a whole different level, for sure.
So as a crew chief, would you say you've learned more in the last 5 years than you did in all the years prior to that?
I feel like I've learned more in the last 5 years on, like, certain areas. I mean, I think I've learned a lot about the race cars, to being around the Schaeffers and Barry Jackson, Lasowski, Bonsai, and all those guys, about the race car end of it, to make the race cars good and do a good job that way. I feel like in the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, I've learned how to probably race for a championship, and follow a schedule and a lot of the business end of it. There's a lot more to it than just the being at the racetrack. Like, you're managing a lot of money. You're managing, I got two guys that work underneath me, 3 guys actually now, so managing people, like, I mean, I've learned a lot about managing, people in the business side of it the last years. And there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes to keep the wheels turning, to even come remotely close to winning a championship. And it's far more important than, a half a turn on a stop bolt, or, a bar change here and there. There's some behind the scene things that really add up to be championship caliber too.
I talked to Tyler Swank a lot, and I look at the crew chief as an underrated piece of a team. I'd say you guys are the glue that keeps a team together. You're ordering stuff, you're dealing with a driver, you're dealing with, different personalities on the team, you're dealing with the owner. You have to organize everything. You're really like a GM almost. Is that kind of how it is? Do people really not appreciate crew chiefs enough?
Oh, I don't know. I think the crew chiefs are appreciated pretty well. I mean, I feel like they get, for the most part, at this level, we're all getting, rewarded for it pretty well. And the unfortunate or fortunate reality of it is that a part of it is performance, and you gotta be able to have the whole package, I guess, and manage the people and make the cars fast and do the whole deal. And if you put all that together and do the right things, you're going to run good. And then that's where you get rewarded for it as well. And, so, yeah, I mean, I think it, not because I'm a crew chief, but I think it's the first piece of the puzzle for a quality team. You got to get somebody in there that's going to manage it. And I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I think that's the first part of it.
Oh no, I agree with you. I think the crew chief should be, in discussions with the owner on who the driver should be, because look, I've seen teams have the most money, best crew chief, and the best driver, and they didn't work. They didn't win. It really is a combination, and I do believe it starts with the crew chief. I'd tell you, me, I'd tell you if you were worthless, but no, I mean, to me, you guys, that's why I say underrated. You guys, the driver kind of gets all the credit. It seems like sometimes. I mean, do you feel that way?
Well, I mean, it's rightful. They're the ones sitting their asses in the car. So
That's
that's where
true.
I got a different vantage point because I drove them a little bit and I know what it takes. And, that's why I'm thankful for, a David Gravel because there's nights where, like a prime example of Volusia the other night, I was so pissed off at myself because, we tried some things and, hindsight being 2020, they didn't work out and why. And we just weren't very good. And he still managed to run fifth. You can get that thing close and he can still carry the car, and there's a reason why they announced their names. And like I said, it's a whole different ball game when you sit your ass in these things and you're out there. And the great ones, the David Gravels, Donnie, Steve, Sammy, all those guys. I mean, they're they're the best at what they do, and they're the ones risking their lives to do it. I've never lost a race standing on top of the mule, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to give them shit too much, but I think our job as a crew chief, a lot of times is, obviously giving them a nice piece to drive, but giving them that smack in the ass when they need it, and making sure that they're going to bring the best out of themselves and get the most out of the car. There is a mental side to this, like anything, so I think they got to be switched on upstairs, and 6 inches controls 6 feet. So what you got going on in between the ears dictates a lot of, how you're going to perform, I feel like. So sometimes you feel like you got to be a little bit of a psychiatrist at times, but it's all part of the game, and it's all part of what makes a good operation go.
So what type of crew chief are you? Are you one that will climb all over a driver if they mess up? Or are you one who doesn't necessarily want to say much to the driver? Where do you fall in that?
I don't think I've ever really climbed all over a driver or really motherfucked them for doing something, or trying, if we're running 15th and you stuff that thing in the wall, doing stupid, it's trying to be a superhero, well, I might get a little pissed, but I'm not, I like I said, I drove these before, so I know what it takes. And, like for instance, now, I feel, I'm not saying it just because, he's my guy, but I feel like David Gravel is the best right now. And he knows what it takes. I don't, if he fucks up, he doesn't need, he's good enough to know, when he makes a mistake. So he doesn't need me, ripping his ass. I feel like that is almost a little bit of a negative if you do something like that. I feel like that hurts more than it helps. But, I will give some constructive criticism at the time, I guess, but it's all for the good. It's not, I'm not trying to say I could do it better or anything like that. I just feel like, with me watching, especially after racing together for 4 years, I can kind of say, hey, if you do this, or hey, you're a little faster here, or open your entry up here, that really looked good. And he's like, yeah, you just, it's almost like you know what each other are thinking type of deal. But I'm not one I get more pissed off at myself a lot of times now anymore. Like I'm super competitive. I hate to lose at anything. So like, I don't like backing up. I don't like, getting beat. So I sometimes I feel like I'm more harder on myself. Like, man, I should have done this, or that, or I'll watch the video back, 10 times and, want to, I know what to do now for next time, and, but it's all part of it. It's all part of the game.
You mentioned David Gravel. Super talented. What's his best attribute? What is he best at?
Well, I mean, he keeps the car really straight. I mean, he's really good with the pedals. I mean, there's not, I mean, I don't know, like to say he's got an arsenal of attributes that make him great, and there's a few scenarios at times that every driver has to where they might not excel as much, so there might be nights where you gotta, put on a fucking kidney belt and go out there and bounce through the holes and lead with the right rear. Well, he's just not going to do that shit. Part of it's because he's smart, and that's just not his cup of tea racetrack. But those are scenarios in dirt track racing that you see at times. I'll take his, I'll take the smooth finesse. Let's get our car good racer, and take care of the equipment, because ultimately I feel like at the end of the day, racing for a championship, those attributes will excel far more than the more risk taker type of attribute. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, he's I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, he's been fortunate. I feel like he's been in damn near every top tier ride, at a fairly young age. So he's got to be around some very successful people, Barry Jackson and, a lot of good teams, car owners and crew chiefs that he got to see, before we even teamed up, and he's won, with, every one of them, the nationals, and what he did with Phillip and the JGR deal. I mean, that was phenomenal. I mean, you give him a good piece, and obviously he can do some good things. It's just the proof is out there. So yeah, I mean, it's been good, and there's a lot of drivers, like I said, like Schaeffer. I feel like Schaeffer is one of the best all around sprint car drivers, from a guy that he can build the cars, build the engines, race the fucking thing, drive the hauler to the track, and kill a fucking case of beer with you after it's all said and done, do it all over again. You know what I mean? Like that dude's an animal in my eyes. There's a lot of I've been fortunate, a lot of good drivers and talent out there, and they all got their little quirks and stuff. And I feel like, like with Schaeffer, I was with him for, I think 3 or 4 years, and we kept getting better and better. And now I'm with David for 4 years. I feel like we're going to keep getting better and better and better. And we both have the same goals now, and I think we're really close to accomplishing some really, really cool things.
It's funny you mentioned about David being able to do stuff on a track. Last year, Lernerville, the high limit race, that track was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys were just going to run it through the muck and run it through the holes. David went one groove lower and smoked him.
Yeah.
It was probably, and I've seen David run a lot of races, as you have.
Mm-hmm.
Might be one of his most intelligent races that I've ever seen him run.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've got 31 wins now together, outlaw wins. And that one, I remember that night. Cool. We both really wanted to win that race. David loves Lernerville. I love Lernerville.
Yep.
We both have a lot of experience there. I guess that's a track, even I got a lot of experience there. It was heavy. And that was one of them nights I remember saying, hey, you know what? Just keep the wrenches in the mule, free this fucking thing up and let him rotate that thing and let him just go out and do his thing. And we kept freeing up all night. And yeah, like you said, he was able to cut and rotate on a demanding track, and was fortunate. That was a nice 50 grand to take. That was one of the nicer 50 grand I think we took for, out of those races last year.
When I've talked to Ricky Warner a lot as well. And, it's funny. He says a lot of guys try to throw too many tricks at their car. He said, I work on, the basics, just getting the basics down. Do you kind of follow that same principle of you got to nail the basics? Sometimes you can overthink yourself doing too many quote unquote tricks.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked to Rick a lot over the years. Rick talks to everybody a lot. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, actually. I mean, you gotta have the fundamentals, I feel, right. And I don't know that there's really nowadays any tricks. I don't think there's so any tricks out there. I think it's mastering the fundamentals and having great engines, great drivable engines. And the big difference maker now is people. Everybody's pretty much got the same shit nowadays. I mean, you could walk through the pits and look at the cars and they all look fairly similar, and they probably all, or 80% of them have FK shocks on them, or so it's yeah, it's dialing in the fundamentals.
We're going to talk a little sprint car racing, high limit. You and I have talked about this in the pit area. I I can assume you guys were always going to be World of Outlaws when this all happened. You weren't going high limit. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that's Todd's call, but I'm sure Todd talked to you guys. What's your thoughts on the overall, theme of sprint car racing now when 2 national series? Are you in favor of it? Are you not? Are you concerned? Is it cautious? Are you kind of taking a wait and see attitude? How do you kind of look at everything now with what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, our deal, like, we were all pretty well aligned with what we were going to do. Right out of the gate, I've never won a championship. David's never won a championship. Todd's never, that we were all aligned with our goals as a team. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions, I guess. I mean, when it all started, I was really for the midweek,
Mhm.
the midweek deal. I thought genuinely there that would have the potential, being as though the Outlaws were going to give us, 4 races, to go, run a $50,000 Lernerville on a Tuesday, race. And then also that would allow, some of the all-star guys, if it was in the area, or, teams in those wherever areas they were racing, to maybe make a little extra money. So I thought that was pretty good. As far as the national deal goes, like, I don't know. I just I don't know if there can be 2 NFLs. I don't know if there can be, 2 Premier Series. That's where the time will tell thing will sort of play out. The one big thing for me, I feel like, is that brand, that name, World of Outlaws. I mean, that means something to me. And I know that means something, to a lot of people who have invested their lives, with the World of Outlaws, I feel like. So I don't know. I was disappointed, maybe. I mean, the All-Star deal was kind of, I don't know, so for the last, I don't know, it feels like a long time, but the All-Stars just didn't feel like how the All-Stars used to be when I was growing up.
Right.
So I was kind of sad to see that go, because I felt like that was a bit of a feeder series. to get to that maybe national level. So I don't know. I got a lot of mixed feelings about it. I mean, there was a point in time, honestly, this year where, I mean, I was just getting blown up with my phone, people calling and asking, what do you think of Highland? Finally, I'm like, fuck it. I just turned my phone off. I'm like, I just can't take it no more. Like, it was burning me out,
Right.
and so I, I just don't know. I mean, I just hope it's not a big dick measuring contest over money, and I think this day and age, when you look at the money end of it and the amount of money that these drivers are making now, and these crew guys are making, in my opinion, is the highest it's ever been. We're racing for more money than we've ever been. The car owners are spending more money probably than they ever have, which in my opinion is like by choice, or you get
Yep.
sponsors. I mean, it's we've lost some, I feel like, which sucks. I think we've lost some car owners at that, mid-tier level, and so I mean, that's not good from a price standpoint, but I don't know. I don't know. I hope it's not a deal where like the rich get richer and then like, we're going to lose more local teams type of scenario because of 2 traveling series and not enough. I just don't know. We'll see how it all all unfolds, I guess. But yeah, it's just it's an interesting time to
It's
say the least.
it's a great time to be a writer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's giving you all kinds of topics.
Oh my God. But well, I think 2 national series can exist, but I think at some point there's got to be some working together. And I don't know if that's there. I don't know if people are ready for that who are involved.
Yeah.
But and I have the same concern for the local level. I don't know. I think the track running 30, 40 weekly shows a year, that's even in central Pennsylvania. I don't think that model works anymore, but we'll see. This year will be a big litmus test for that. Now you got something thrown at you this year, the wicker bill deal. I asked David about it. He was a little concerned. Where do you come out on the 1-inch wicker bill deal?
I was all for. I told them to take them off. I mean, if you're going to do it, just take them off. If they're worried, the theory that they're getting is that they're trying to eliminate some of that dirty air behind the race cars and make it to where guys can race around each other a little bit. I didn't see any major changes in that aspect of it at Volusia, but I'm glad you brought that up because I've kind of forgot about it, honestly. Like I mean, it's one less thing you got to worry about changing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's something that's going to be, super, super groundbreaking. I mean, I told him, I said, as far as the dirty air deal goes, I said, if you watch the good guys, a lot of the good racers, they don't run up on someone's ass, you don't
Point.
you want to keep air on your car. So I feel like if they got a dirty air problem, that's probably some of, where their driver's putting it out on the racetrack, maybe. I don't know. But if they want to make the racing real good, I said, and save some money, I said, take the wing valves and the wing rams off these things. Just put a manual deal back there and, start her 3/4 of the way back at the beginning, and then the drivers can't adjust that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just like I think the 305 class at Attica and Fremont, that's what they do. They just got a manual deal. I said, take out the power steering, the wing ram and the wing valve, and shit. I mean, they're going to cut some cost, and you'll have some comers and goers in, because I know one thing: starting her back with 3/4 away with a full fuel load, some of them guys will be bitching up a storm if they had to do that.
Always go to an old school. Lance DeWeese said something about the right rear tire width, and making that like 101 or something like that. And he thinks that would do what they want to do. He doesn't think the 1-inch wicker bill is going to make a difference at all.
Yeah, so far I haven't seen any difference.
Yeah, I mean, would you see it at Volusia though?
I don't think you'd see it more on a half-mile track than you would on a little track, I guess, just where air is a little more important on a Volusia. Volusia is the surface is so spinny. Where like, I look back on last week, I probably would have qualified with an 1.5 inch wicker bill. So, I mean, if there was if the rule
Right.
was as it was, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's going to achieve what they're wanting it to achieve.
So speaking of Volusia and going into Volusia, it's funny. The last 4 or 5 years, Brad Sweets had the bullseye on his back. And rightly so. He was the defending champion. Now you guys had the bullseye on your back and you didn't win the title. There's a lot of expectation. People have you guys penciled in as the champion already. How tough is it dealing with that? I know now you're not a social media guy. I don't even know if you have a Twitter account or
No,
X.
I don't have any of that shit.
So David's involved. So how do you guys hear that, know it? Are you aware of it? And how did you kind of deal with that, knowing that you guys are the heavy, heavy favorites to win the World of Outlaw title?
Well, some of that is why I don't have that social media garbage. So I don't listen to all these people talk that shit. But as far as being penciled in to win that, I mean, that's just absolutely asinine to say. I mean, there's a lot of great cars still there. I mean, just because Brad chose to not come back and go for a sixth title, like we can't help that.
Right.
I was actually surprised to see him do that because I believe if he would have came back, he could have potentially been the first ever to win 6 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know my history books super well, but
I got to look at that.
I don't think anybody's won 6 in a row. But I mean, I guess now we're in an age now where, more money is more important than things like that. But I don't think we're a pencil in at all. I think you still got Donnie, Sheldon, Carson, Gio, Logan. Logan's battled for a championship. Donnie's won 10 of these things. I mean, it's like to say a pencil in right now, just after a week of Volusia, to me is asinine. But I know one thing. I mean, we're going to put our best foot forward. I mean, I'm fully confident in our abilities. I mean, running second the last 3 years. I mean, definitely it has. I'm sure it has that look, or that feel of we're the shoe in, but there's a lot of work to be done, and to put together a full season on the Outlaw deal is not easy. And we're just going to put our best foot forward, and every night, like I said, we're going to have short-term memory, and one race at a time on to the next one, and we're going to do that 85 times a year, and hopefully we can come on top of this deal.
Finishing second, that stings because you've been close. You guys closer than even maybe some of the final gaps would say. To get over that hump, what needs to be better, and how hungry are you guys for that title?
Yeah, we're super hungry. We're both really really hungry in that aspect. Like just looking on last year, some things I feel like the team needs to clean up, would be some work area stuff. I mean, there was a couple nights where, we I feel like we failed the work area, and we needed to get back out, and we didn't. Just limiting mistakes is the big thing on all ends. Any mistake, whether it's a work area mistake, a driver mistake, a hiccup in the pits preparing, just limiting mistakes, but learning from them and moving forward, and trying to just keep a good attitude, throughout the whole process. And yeah, I mean, like I said, just don't get too down on the lows. and celebrate the highs, but learn from everything, and just keep trying to get better.
Two more things. When you guys race, when everybody's together, and David alluded to it last week, doesn't want to lose to a high limit guy. Is there some kind of, hey, I don't want to lose to anybody, but there is a little extra to beat those guys when you're all together at this point?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that would be more of I don't know. I want to beat everybody. Like, I don't, I'm that guy. Like, I don't, if my mom was racing, I would not want to get beat by her. Like, it's just how I am. Maybe, I mean, I guess I've never really looked at it that way too much, really. I mean, when you say that, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, there again, I feel like that's where if I don't see it, some of that stuff, I feel like that's something with social media, you'd scroll on to, and I could already hear some dumbass fan out there, oh, high limits sweeping this, or the guys are sweeping that. At the end of the day, there are great race car drivers, and there are great teams right now on both sides, which that to me is really cool. So I guess there might be one positive take out of this whole split deal that creates a buzz for the fans. But the competitor in me is like, at all the big races, we're all going to be together.
Yeah,
that's one thing we can guarantee. And high limit or not, those are the ones you want. So, if Donnie or Logan wins the Nationals or the Royal or the Open or something, and Brad or a high limit car doesn't, I'm gonna be just as fucking pissed as if like it that is not gonna make one bit of difference to me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to try and win every night, and if that creates a little buzz, or I don't know, the drivers might think about that. I could see some of the drivers maybe looking at it that way, for sure.
You're mentioned. Did you ever think you'd be mentioned in the same breath as with the Outlaws, as Philip Dietz, Ricky Warner, guys like that? You're in that upper echelon of crew chief now. Did you ever imagine that?
Nope, not one bit. I mean, like I said, I just love working on these race cars, and I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but I don't know. I just try to do the best I can. I try to be a good leader. I try to make sure all my T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and super thankful for the opportunities. Like it's without the opportunities I was given, from the early days with, my cousin Lee, and, the 49X opportunity. And, I've had phone calls where, I've turned down some pretty good opportunities, because I've probably been, I was maybe a little too loyal at times or whatever, but I've just had a lot of great opportunities, and I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of successful people in this industry. And it's like I said, when you're around something and you want to do it and you want to learn it, I think you pay a little more attention to it, and you maybe absorb it a little better, rather than if you're clocking in or clocking out at some shit job that you don't want to do. I guess yeah, just Todd Quirin, ultimately where I'm at now, I'm super, super fortunate for the opportunity he's given me. It's just, I got everything I need now to do my thing. There ain't any excuses now. So, yeah, just try and, do the best I can, put together the best team possible. And I'm fortunate there, I got two good guys that are going to be out with me this year. Zach's been with me for 3 years now, doing the tires, and does a real good job. Stephen Ham Riley, he's with me now. He's been all over a little bit, got a lot of experience, and the first time working with him at Volusia, did a great job. Scott's back at the shop. You know, he wanted to kind of come off the road and take a little break from the road life and be with some family and do some things, but he's going to stay on. And Todd's building us a brand new state-of-the-art facility, a shop right at the racetrack at High Bank. So if you're at the High Bank Nationals this year, you know, you come up and check that out. Hopefully
I will definitely do that.
Hopefully construction goes well and we can be in around that June time would be awesome. But yeah, just super happy and fortunate to be a part of a great organization. Yeah, just excited for this season, excited to get the season rolling. Short-term memories already kicking in. You know, Volusia's gone. We got to go back there 2 days for bike week, kind of, you know, get through there with some good runs and take off to Texas and just let the grind begin. Try and develop a good package for all the big races when June, July, and August come around. Ultimately, those are the 3 months where you really try to hone in on and put it together, and hopefully you can put a whole year together, and maybe we'll talk to you at the end of the year when we're champions.
How old are you now?
I'll be 37 in September. So
how long do you do this? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, man, well, it keeps backing up. Like at one time it was like 32 and then that hit, and then it was like 35. Well, that hit. So now it's like, well, 40. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I got some goals, you know, some personal goals that I would like to achieve. I would like to achieve these goals with David Gravel and Big Game Motorsports. I feel like we have I feel like we got a really good thing going, and I don't like change. And fortunately, I feel like to have a good run in this, you got to keep the change minimal. You know, you keep the same drivers, same crew chief, same engine, same cars, same, you know, that same structure. And I feel like you can really fine tune that and go on runs like Donnie's done, like Brad's done. So I got some goals. You know, I'd love to win the championship, love to win a nationals, Kings Royal, National Open. Those are probably the big four yet, I guess. But I don't know that I want to be out here, you know, bumming around when I'm 75 or 80 years old, like Davy Brown or anything. But
wow.
But if I was as sharp as that dude is at 80 years old or however old he is now, it's hard to say. But I don't know him that well, never really talked to him. But I mean, that dude is like, he always catches my attention, like watching him walk through the pits at the Grove to go stand in turn 3 to watch his car, you know.
Yep.
Like that dude is unreal. But I don't know. We'll see. As long as things are going good, you know, we'll keep rolling, but don't want to do it forever either.
Well, Cody, I want to thank you for taking so much time on an afternoon. I know you're winding down a little bit after Volusia, and I just appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling. Thanks for having me, and I'll catch you at the races, I'm sure, down the road here somewhere.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
All right, bud.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap up another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com deep dive presented by EnTrust IT Solutions. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page and check out our exclusive daily content at www.sprintcarunlimited.com. And we'll be back next Thursday with another guest. Stay tuned.